Really interesting. And I know like the shamrock got really famous and easily accepted, especially because Druidic tradition, they already had associations with the clover and the Trinity. So for Christianity, it is the Holy Trinity that St. Patrick's used to explain as the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. But for the Druids, it represented the wheel or the sun. And if we think about even other traditions, they also have the Trinity. So many people know about paganism and neo-paganism, about the triple goddesses. And it represents the maiden, the mother, and the crone. And those are also like stages of a woman's life. And it can also represent stages and phases of the moon. And the Trinity can also represent, the triple goddess can also represent the heavens, earth, and the underworld. And I was checking it out, and the Trinity can be seen in even like in India, some gods and goddesses, they also had Trinity, and northern part of Europe also had, in many other places of the world, which is fascinating, I think.
Yeah, it is. And I think it is really related nowadays for us to wear green and, think about nature because the spring equinox is coming. And if we think about green, it's not only a color of our heart chakra and abundance and all these beautiful things, but it's also the color of nature as well, right?
Yes.
And we can see finally some green outside our windows and some flowers starting to bloom, and that's the beginning of spring. And yeah, we can actually say that the beginning of the spring happens during and after the spring equinox, which is a beautiful time because it marks a day where the night and the morning time, they are almost exactly the same.
Yes.
So if we think about the meaning of the equinox, it's a time for us to bring more balance into our lives because we are balancing the day and the night. We're balancing feminine and masculine. We are balancing out our inner world and the outside world. Also, the intuition and the more practical side. The day and the night, they are very associated with all these dualities as well. And also the known and the unknown. I think it's a good time for us to be ready to not only be courageous to brave ourselves in what we know, but also to have this courage to go somewhere we don't know, to explore things that are really new for us, because this energy of spring is really propitious for that.
Mm-hmm. I think it's also interesting to like the spring equinox and all types of equinoxes or solstice, they are always represented really strongly to this connection to nature. And a lot of paganisms and other religions that were really close to nature, they teach us so much during this time because I think a lot of people forgot that we're also nature beings. Human beings are part of this world, and having this time to connect and see what is changing outside and look around, look to nature and see what is blooming and what is not blooming at this time. What nature shows to people like it's time to go, it's time to stay. Is it warm enough for the seed to start growing or not? And learn from that our lives is also full of cycles. We are not machines. We cannot keep going and going and going. You have time to rest, time to grow, time to replenish, time to die as well, and to have this rebirth. So spring is also the rebirth, this time where during winter we had our isolation period, hibernation, we could die and just rest. And now it's time to bloom something new. So think about what are the projects you want to do? What do you want for your own self? And guard this as an intention for what you're going to bring up and have its culmination in summertime, right? When the sun is already like at the top of the sky and we have longer days. So it's also this transition from a darker phase into a lighter one. So we can be more positive and think about the action because also the night and like the unknown is related to the subconscious. So we're bringing this into clarity what we want to have a conscious awareness, So I think it's interesting.
Yeah. And since the days are becoming longer, it's almost like we are receiving more light into the things that we were not so clear about as well. We are beginning to have more knowledge of what's going on with ourselves and with our lives as well. And I think it's important to see also the spring as this starting point, because as we see as you talked about the 3 stages of the goddess, now it would be the first one, she's the maiden, right? So the maiden is a young girl, so she's curious and she's trying to figure out what's going on, and she finds beauty in everything, and she's excited and playful and lighthearted. And I think all these energies we can really try to invite into our lives during this period, because we're slowly stretching ourselves from that winter time and allowing to, go a little further and then come back, have this balance of trying to discover, but it's not only until summer that we can fully see everything fulfilled. So having this playfulness of knowing that you don't know everything, you still have many phases on your life to achieve more knowledge, right? The mother and the crone would be further steps, right, in this journey. So the maiden is just this little seed that is starting to grow, and she's beautiful and curious. And I think we can learn a lot from this, allowing ourselves to be in this apprenticeship position as well. And do not try to take a lot of steps further if we cannot even think about the first one. So it's really about acknowledging our journey in our process and taking the first step in a playful and lighthearted way.
That's why I think mythology can be really good to understand our own lives. And I know a lot of people know about Persephone, and she's exactly like that. During the winter time, she goes into the underworld, so is her death. But then she's reborn every spring, and that's why she's the goddess of flowers, agriculture, and all those things. And in this phase, she's the maiden as well. So she has this light-hearted position, and she's open to make the ground, the earth fertile again, and bring inspiration and make things grow. But she leaves behind all the baggage, so to speak, to start over again.